up, we took an extensive look at Clans of Caledonia, the economic Euro game designed by Juma Al-JouJou and published by Karma Games. In Clans of Caledonia, you're a Scottish clan working the land in order to produce valuable goods that will hopefully help your clan expand, thrive, and establish a prosperous agricultural kingdom. The game plays with 1 to 4 players and takes about 30 minutes per player, and the game falls into the mid-weight complexity range. Our thoughts about the game come after 1 play at 4 players and 5 plays at 2 players. How does the game look and feel? Well, the game has Clemens France artwork, which is very pleasant, familiar, and colorful. The components are all of very high quality, and all of the wooden sheep and cows and cheese and whiskey barrels are very well made and really help immerse you in the theme of the game. Everything does feel a little bit small, but it doesn't interfere with the gameplay. And the box is not oversized, and so it doesn't take up a lot of space on your shelf. The iconography in the game is very clear, intuitive, and it helps you while playing the game. It keeps everything smooth and running well. The rulebook is superb. It's well written and should be seen as a great example for clear rulebooks. And lastly, the game is very easy to explain. The rules are very clear, and there are almost no special little rules that come up during the game, and so you don't have a lot of questions when you're playing. You can just set up and start playing. The one rule that maybe did cause a little bit of confusion was the neighbor bonus building rule, but other than that, the game is very streamlined and can be played basically right away. So how does the game start? Well, the setup is relatively quick. Like we said, it can be easily explained, and you're basically ready to play. Every player chooses a clan. There are 8 clans plus 1 Kickstarter bonus clan, and each clan has a special ability, which we really enjoyed a lot. The players then take turns selecting their starting points up on the map, and then the game can start. Clans of Caledonia nicely combines Euro elements with a dynamic economic market that responds to the supply and demand of the goods. And these elements blend well together and fit nicely together without being too complicated. And we found that the game in general flows as follows. In the first 4 rounds, you often focus on setting up the basic working economy of your clan. You put out cows for making milk, planting wheat fields, building distilleries to make whiskey, so basically your agricultural and production engine. But you always have in the back of your mind that you need enough workers in the forest or in the mountains to make enough money to continue expanding the reach of your clan. Because in the game, money is the main resource for planting crops, establishing a pasture with animals, building buildings, getting contracts, buying advancements like more traders and an increased travel distance over water. So pretty much every aspect of the game is dictated by money. Thus, balancing your money and bringing in enough income and then spending it wisely is critical and the real heart of the game. The goods that you produce by your clan can be sold on the market for money or exchanged for contracts giving you exotic goods which are valuable victory points at the end of the game. And this is the game in a nutshell: building up your domain, producing goods, receiving an income, and using those goods and monies to fulfill export contracts for victory points. So with all of the basics covered, let's get to how we like the game. We enjoy the game a lot. We were super excited first, and were a little bit let down by the lack of innovation or anything super novel, because we have seen parts of the game in other games, like Terra Mystica. But in this case, it's not necessarily a bad thing. The various aspects of the game that may have been seen before fit together seamlessly. The game is very well test-played with almost no lingering questions or little blips, and this definitely is an achievement and a point that deserves praise. The game does require quite a bit of thinking and planning, but after 1 round of getting into the game, it starts to click, and so we would actually put it in the more mid-weight game category, especially for players who are familiar with more mid to heavyweight Euro games. There are different strategic options that you can make during the game, and they are mostly determined by the special ability of your clan, which is a common trait of games with special character abilities. The strategy dictated by your clan will guide and predetermine your strategy a little bit, and will likely be to your disadvantage if you try to go too far off of the prescribed path of your clan. We did enjoy the different clans that were available in the game, and we always played with a character ability. It was really fun to try out a new clan or to try and improve on your previous performance with a given clan. And overall, we did not encounter any glaring balancing issues with the powers of the different clans. Some of the clans, however, are definitely more straightforward to play, like the Milk Clan, Clan Cunningham, which can sell milk during the production phase for 8 pounds per milk, which can provide the player with some serious income. So in this case, producing milk is a clear path to take with Clan Cunningham. And there are other clans that are a little bit more tricky and require more experience to play and to fully develop a viable, successful strategy. And maybe the ones that are more difficult to play might lead into a little bit of a balancing issue, especially if you're playing the game with a new player. If you introduce the game to new players, we would recommend either playing the first game without clans or giving new players some more straightforward clans to start with. We mostly played the game with 2 players, and at this player count it worked very well for us. But even though you shrink the map a little with 2 players, we always had enough space to kind of do our own thing, and we didn't run into any major battles over land space or over the more affordable, coveted land spaces. We chose to start out in our own corners of the map, and then only at the end of the game did we meet in the middle and start interacting with one another. And therefore we didn't use the neighbor bonus all that often, only more towards the later rounds, with 2 players, which was of course due to how we built up our territories and how we personally played the game in a less confrontational way. We did also find that with 2 players, the goods prices on the market board move less, and the market is less dynamic. So the price of the goods was somewhat more constant and rarely moved to extreme values. Our 4-player game was, of course, much tighter on the map, even though it was expanded in comparison to the 2-player game. But it thankfully was still not too frustrating, and in the case of 4 players, the neighbor bonus was able to be used quite often. In general, if you like to be forced to sometimes move away from your original plan, or to adopt to new situations based on what your opponents are doing, then you should consider playing the game with more than 2 players. We personally don't mind playing a less stressful version of the game with just 2, which comes with a stronger focus on strategy and slightly less focus on tactics and responding to the actions of your opponents. So this brings us, in the end, to replayability. Clans of Caledonia is not quite as complex as you think at first. You quickly learn how to handle each clan, in the case of most clans, and how to optimize your gameplay based on the special ability of your clan. Clans of Caledonia most often boils down to who fulfills the most export contracts over the course of the game, because ultimately, in nearly every game, the bulk of every player's points comes from the export contracts. Only in very rare cases did the person with the most points from the export contracts come up short of the victory and was surpassed by another player. In addition to the export contracts, you do score points based on the conditions established by the end of round victory tiles. And these victory point conditions will be different every game and in a different order every game. So of course these points that one accumulates at the end of every round, 5 rounds in total, contribute to the end scoring and can make the difference in the outcome of the game. But we still found that it was absolutely necessary to fill at least 5 export contracts over the course of the game to have a shot to win. Therefore, Clans of Caledonia is not really a point salad game, and different tactics can start to feel similar in that they lead to a similar flow of actions that lead to similar outcomes. The main variability in the game lies in the different clan abilities and in the variable setup of the end of round scoring conditions. However, despite the different clan abilities and scoring conditions, the course of every game does start to feel the same. You start out establishing your production chain, aiming to most efficiently produce luxury goods, which you then use to get money and fulfill export contracts. Expert gamers might feel satisfied more quickly with Clans of Caledonia, but at least looking at scores that other players have been able to reach, we definitely have room to improve and to further optimize our production chains and gameplay. We certainly, after 6 plays, have not reached the pinnacle of success in the game. And so if you are a player who wants to try every clan and to work to reach the top potential of every different clan, then there is certainly a lot that the game has to offer. In the end, we really like what Clans of Caledonia brings to the table. It's a very robust package, well designed, well thought out, and has a difficulty that will feel accessible for relatively new gamers, but expert gamers will still find a challenge there and should have a lot of fun building up their Scottish clan's agricultural empire. Clans of Caledonia might be lacking a bit in innovation and more strongly separable or unique strategies, but these are points that don't stick out too much and take several plays of the game to really realize. We recommend Clans of Caledonia for people who enjoy mid-weight Euro games with a strong focus on economics and resource conversion. Here, money is tight, and there are often so many things you want to do with your money, and so you have a fair amount of tough decisions to make when picking which buildings to build, or crops to plant, or contracts to fulfill. Clans often has been compared to Terra Mystica, and while we can certainly see the elements of Terra Mystica infused into the game, Clans of Caledonia definitely streamlines a lot of the gameplay of Terra Mystica. It does feel different, and is more accessible to a wider variety of gamers. We definitely want to go back to Scotland and try to push our scores towards the 200-point mark. We never made it that high. Clans gets our great game seal, and we think it's a very good game that can be enjoyed by Euro gamers of all levels.
Thank you for watching Games Up. See you next time.